Joining me now to discuss Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee. He is a member of the Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thank you for taking the time this morning.
Jim, nice to be back with you, and I'm really proud of you in Ukraine and was concerned for you, but thank you for doing that reporting.
That's kind of you to say. I appreciate it. You heard Whitney Wild's reporting there. The Justice Department, DHS, saying it's no better today, the environment, particularly as it relates to elections, violence around elections like you witnessed yourself on January 6th. No better today than it was prior to January 6th. I wonder, for folks watching at home now, should they be concerned that these midterms coming up might be marred by violence?
We all should be concerned about the midterms being harmed, and all public officials should be concerned about their own safety, I fear. Jonathan Martin, our friend who wrote This Shall Not Pass, makes that clear in his book that this is something that is a continuing part of American government, American politics. The big lie continues, the fealty to Trump continues, and the encouragement to the white supremacists and the terrorists to be involved continues. I had no doubt on January 6th. I felt my life was endangered when I was in the gallery. And when I was there, I hollered down to the floor and said, call Trump and ask him to call off his Revolutionary Guard. It was clear to me what had occurred that day, and it's still going on, and it continues because the man is intent to get power, and Republicans helped him, and Republicans continue to help him.
And you, by the way, were not the only one who tried to get the president to call them off. We know that included right up to the Republican leadership, Kevin McCarthy. January 6 hearings, they are coming up. The committee says that it will be presenting not just evidence we're familiar with, but new evidence that they say potentially damning for some senior officials right up to the former president. What new evidence are you looking for?
I'm looking for involvement of Republican legislators who had denied that they met with President Trump on January 6th and soon before. But we have proof through Mark Meadows' emails and other evidence that they did, in fact, meet and that they can work with him. And there were several legislators who have denied being involved, but they are involved. And it went to the highest powers. They were all close to Meadows. They all encouraged Meadows. I think we're going to see that, and we're going to see how much Trump was involved. Trump ran this show. He ran it from the time he lost the election in November, and he did it with his son, our sons, and all of his henchmen up there. Mark Meadows was part of it, and they were willing to have Mike Pence hung and thought that would have been a good thing. Nobody knows yet who brought that gallows or constructed that gallows on the Capitol grounds. But that was done with a purpose to intimidate, to instill fear, and possibly, I think, to be used.
We know that, we believe that Mark Meadows, that Pence's chief of staff will testify in these hearings. Pence is seemingly making bones about possibly challenging Trump for the Republican nomination in 2024. Do you believe the former vice president should testify? I mean, he was in that basement safe room for hours on January 6th.
If I were he, I would. I think I'd put a threat to my life, and there was a definite threat to Mike Pence's life. There was testimony from some of the indicted, and I think some of the people who pled guilty said they wanted to grab Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and grab them by the head or the hair and pull them down the steps of the Capitol. They wanted to do them harm, and they wanted to kill them. And if it was me, if I was Mike Pence, I would certainly want to see the public to know that and justice to be rained down on those individuals that try to overturn our government, which is the most egregious thing that can be done to somebody who believes in government, takes an oath to the Constitution, and to kill that person. And Mike Pence's life was at stake.
Historians have wondered, and sometimes on this broadcast, what Watergate would have resulted in the age of partisan right-wing media. If there was a storyline that came through to a significant part of the population, different from the facts as we knew them. We're going to get a test now with these January 6 hearings, at least on the first one. We know that Fox will not be airing them. I wonder, what is the significance of that in your view, and how can the committee, how can Democrats get through to a significant portion of the country with the results of this investigation?
It's going to be difficult. I know CNN the new leadership is looking going more toward the middle and getting a broader viewership. But Fox has the predominance of Trump supporters and Republicans, and it's harder to get the news through Fox than it is to get it in Russia through the Russian television. They will not run the hearings. They will probably not report much on them, and if they do, they'll mostly have Jim Jordan and Elise Stefanik saying things that Democrats are communists and pedophiles and you name it. So it's hard to get across to them, but there's a middle ground. There's what we always call the suburban housewife, independents, who will listen and who will recoil at what they learn about the president's direct involvement and direction. The fact that on the day of the insurrection, instead of acting to protect the Capitol and the legislature, he was enjoying it. He was watching it on television, and he was cheering for his team to win. And that was for America to lose. So I think the hearings are going to be very important. Comparing it to Watergate, this is Watergate with capital letters and exclamation points. Nixon was wrong. He was a crook. He sent some of his people to break into the Democratic headquarters. He didn't send his people to break into the Capitol and take over the government and intimidate, threaten, and possibly kill Congress people and senators. There are no Howard Bakers around today who would go to the president and say, you must resign.
Congressman Steve Cohen, appreciate having you back on the broadcast.
Thank you.
Great interview.